So I usually make videos on this channel based around various topics, usually that are inspired by recent events in gaming. So you know what that means when it comes to the gaming industry. More layoffs. It sucks. So yeah, the landscape of the gaming industry is just getting worse and worse as time goes on, and Microsoft is contributing massively to it in the last few months. Microsoft this week have announced that they are planning to close Tango Gameworks, Arkane Austin, AlphaDog Games, and Roundhouse Games. Just to give a rundown of some of their works, Tango Gameworks recently released Hi-Fi Rush to great critical acclaim, and Ghostwire Tokyo was before that. Arkane Austin recently released Redfall, which released to the sound of wet farts. And before that, they made Prey in 2017, which is a highly acclaimed game. The other studios are smaller and more mobile-focused games. I believe AlphaDog Games did Mighty Doom. I'm not familiar with Roundhouse Games, but yeah, either way, it still sucks because it's still studios getting closed down. This case of studios being shut down feels especially sad, because Microsoft literally spent billions of dollars to acquire Bethesda and Activision, and they need to keep profitable, so they're just cutting jobs and studios in order to make their numbers look good, because they made the upfront purchase that cost tens of billions of dollars, and now they're just trying to cut costs at every possible corner. And this seems to be a huge problem within the games industry at the moment, where anything that's not like a AAA top tier banger or a highly beloved super low budget indie darling, anything in between there just gets killed. You either need a Call of Duty or something like a Stardew Valley or a Hollow Knight, and anything in between is just danger zone territory. No matter what studio you are, you can get closed by your publisher. If the games that are released aren't in those camps, the studio's under threat. That's it. And the studios that release games that are in that middle ground, it's not like their sales are terrible because they don't have the massively inflated budget up front. These studios get closed because they're sacrificed to account for the losses of bigger games. Because Microsoft, now that they own say Call of Duty and Fallout and Elder Scrolls, they can't go, well, we better close the studios that make those games. No, they're going to close the studios that make the lesser known games, the games that don't sell millions upon millions, but those studios probably still made enough money to get by. I think a lot of people are going to be watching Ninja Theory going forward because they're now owned by Microsoft. They're about to release Hellblade 2, but they released Hellblade 1. I'm pretty sure they self-published. They budgeted that game super well, and it is a very good-looking game. It's a AAA quality game for a AA price, and they did very well to do that. But now, because they're under Microsoft, and Microsoft has to make money, the number always has to go up, then they're probably going to be at risk if Hellblade 2 doesn't sell well. And there are just some real filthy, crappy comments from some of the higher ups in Xbox, I believe. There are quotes in a Kotaku article, which I'll link below, from Jill Braff and Matt Booty. Let me read you some of these quotes. So I believe this quote comes from Jill Braff with regard to the amount of studios they had under them. It's hard to support 9 studios across the world with a lean central team with an ever-growing plate of things to do. I think we were about to topple over. Here's another excerpt from that article. Tango and Arkane were trying to hire more people while pitching new games. So trying to do their jobs. And both Braff and Booty reportedly suggested that the long, expensive road those teams faced before being able to release something new was the main reason for closing the studios. They were trying to do their job. They were literally trying to do their job as developers in pitching an idea, and they were just going, nah, too much effort, get rid of it. This is the worst quote. One day after closing all these studios, Matt Booty said, "We need smaller games that give us prestige and awards." Hi-Fi Rush got a lot of prestige and awards. Redfall may not have, but, Prey did also. If the studios are going to take so long to develop a game, why not just sell on the smaller studios? I'm sure that other companies would have bought them. Tango Gameworks made Ghostwire Tokyo, which released on the PS5. Sony probably would have bought them. Arkane Austin didn't create Dishonored, but I'm sure they had some bit of involvement. a team with that talent and they created Prey, that would get snatched up easily by another studio. But nope, line has to go up. And Microsoft has not been doing well. It hasn't made many games. Starfield was met with mixed reviews. Halo has not released with the same amount of fanfare in a long time. Who knows what's going on with the Gears of War franchise or Fable, because Fable was announced like 5 years ago. Something crazy like that. Let me look this up. When was Fable announced? Fable was announced in 2020. God damn. Also, there's been a recent report that the newest Perfect Dark game is a mess. I don't know what's going on with their development processes. I don't know how they've messed up so many games. They have so many IPs and there's so many games and they're just not making them. Xbox consoles have really trailed behind the other consoles in terms of sales. They're behind the Switch, they're behind the PlayStation. Hell, they're probably behind the Wii U at this stage. And they're trying to bolster Game Pass with the Bethesda games, but they're closing down all these other smaller studios just to get the big dogs on board, just to get your Fallouts and your Elder Scrolls, which, by the way, the next iteration of those games is years off as well, so... And this isn't even the first round of layoffs from Microsoft this year. Earlier in the year, there were 1,900 jobs laid off across Activision and Xbox. It's like 5 months later, we're seeing more layoffs, and I shouldn't have done this at 11:30 at night. I made a video talking about that first round of layoffs, how I think this is going to have a serious long-term effect on the industry, because no one is going to want to develop games anymore. No one is going to want to be a developer in 5-10 years if this trend keeps going, because if you release a game that doesn't sell super well, guess what? You get fired. If you release a game that does sell super well, guess what? You get fired. You're just ruining the future of the industry. I've been throwing around a few numbers in this video. Let me throw one more number at you here. With regard to Bobby Kotick, who previously ran Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick will officially step down on December 29th, so he already has, which reported in October that the CEO stood to receive more than $375 million in compensation following Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Get fucked. That could have funded so many studios. Because this isn't the first time that studios have been closed down after a massive purchase. Embracer Group has closed down a lot of studios after buying Square Enix Europe. I believe they closed Radical Design. They own Crystal Dynamics, who has Tomb Raider. I know they've closed a few others, but yeah, it's literally the exact same thing. I think they spent a couple of billion to buy those properties and those studios, and then just started closing them down left, right, and center. And if this keeps going, it's just going to stifle creativity in games. If this keeps going, this is also going to ruin the variety of games available, because it's either going to be the big AAA heavy hitters like Call of Duty or your Elder Scrolls, or it's going to be your indie darlings. There's going to be nothing else in between, because those studios are going to get closed down once they make one misstep. And worst of all, if this keeps going the way it is, I think this will genuinely ruin the gaming industry, because people are going to be seeing this news now and they're going to be thinking, I'd love to develop games, but so many people are getting laid off constantly, even after releasing successful games, well-praised games, games that people now love playing, and yet they lose their job anyway. And all just to keep the number going up.